Okay, let's get into this. I want you to picture a scenario, and I'm willing to bet that every single person listening right now has been in this exact spot, probably, I don't know, in the last 48 hours.
Oh, I'm sure of it.
You're standing on a platform, you're waiting for the metro, and let's get specific. Let's use the source material we're looking at today. Let's say you're in Chandigarh. It's the morning rush.
So there's already that, that baseline level of stress. Everyone's trying to get somewhere.
Right, exactly. You've got your bag, you're checking your watch, maybe sweating a little bit because, it's a commute. And standing right next to you, shoulder to shoulder, is another human being.
Mm.
Maybe it's a colleague you kind of recognize from the third floor but have never, ever actually spoken to. Or maybe it's just a total stranger.
Mm.
And then the worst happens. The announcement comes over the speaker. The train is delayed.
And instantly all the air just leaves the room. That collective sigh.
The dynamic shifts completely, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Suddenly there's this void, this silence, and it starts to feel heavy. It feels almost physical.
Yeah, you can feel it.
You're standing 12 inches away from another person. You are both united by this one annoying thing that just happened, and the silence is just screaming at you. You feel this pressure building in your chest to say something, anything, just to acknowledge that you both exist in this shared misery.
That is such a visceral description, and it's entirely accurate.
It
From a
is.
psychological standpoint, that's almost a low-grade fight-or-flight moment. It's the classic elevator scenario.
So elevator scenario, right?
Social norms, they dictate that total silence in that specific proximity, especially when a shared event happens like a delay, is slightly deviant. It feels wrong.
Deviant, that's a strong word. But if it feels that way, it feels like if I don't say something, I'm being weird.
Yeah.
But then if I do say something, I'm risking rejection.
That's the paralysis.
Totally. You start thinking, what if I say something stupid? What if they don't want to talk? What if I trip over my words? All that self-doubt just rushes in.
And that is the absolute crux of it, the risk. Now, let's add another layer of difficulty. Imagine you're doing all of this in a second language.
Oh, man. Yeah.
That anxiety isn't just social anymore. It becomes linguistic. You're not just worried about being boring. You're worried about your grammar, your pronunciation, your vocabulary, and your syntax all at the same time. It's a cognitive overload.
Which brings us directly to the core mission of today's deep dive. We're looking at a very specific and I think fascinating point in a language learner's journey. According to the source material we have in front of us, we're focusing on day 28.
Day 28. And that's a really significant milestone.
Let's unpack that number a little bit. Why day 28? Because if you have reached day 28 of a daily practice routine, that is not a small feat.
No, not at all.
That is 4 solid weeks of showing up every single day.
It's a massive commitment. I mean, if you look at the statistics on habit formation, most people drop out of new habits, whether it's the gym, a new diet, or a language app within the first, 10 days?
Right. The initial excitement wears off.
Exactly. So to reach day 28 means you've moved past that honeymoon phase and you've settled into the discipline phase. You have real grit at that point.
And if we look at the curriculum that's led up to this point, the learner has built a pretty formidable toolbox, haven't they?
They absolutely have. They are not going into this conversation empty-handed. They've likely covered greetings, the basic phonetics, verb conjugations, all that home vocabulary, past tense, future plans, maybe even some idioms. It's a lot of data.
But here's the problem, and I think this is where so many learners get stuck. You have all these tools. You have the hammer, the saw, the screwdriver, but they're all in separate drawers.
Compartmentalize.
Right. You learn colors on day 3. You learned restaurant vocabulary on day 12. You learned the past tense on day 20. But you've never really had to use them all at once in a real spontaneous situation.
Exactly. They are isolated skills. And the genius of day 28 in this specific program is that it's designed to be the integration phase.
Integration phase.
It's all about taking all those isolated tools and actually building something with them. And the thing we're building today is social interaction.
So the mission today is to take all that grammar and all that vocabulary and turn it into that gentle, but sometimes terrifying art form known as small talk.
The gentle art form. I like that.
And I love how the source describes this. It says small talk isn't about deep interrogation. It's not about bearing your soul on the metro platform. It's about making a human connection to fill the void.
That is a beautiful way to frame it. Filling the void. But I think we need to go deeper than just the definition. We need to understand the mechanics of it.
Okay.
So we're going to explore the philosophy behind this, the specific safe topics that work globally. from the weather to the weekend, and we're going to break down the exact scripts provided in this material. The goal, as it's stated, is to learn how to keep a chat going for just 30 seconds to a minute.
30 seconds. It
Yeah.
sounds incredibly short when you say it like that.
In normal life, yes. But in a second language, inside an awkward silence, 30 seconds can feel like an eternity.
It feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
But the promise here is to turn that awkwardness into a friendly chat, using phrases that you would hear in any office or coffee shop, really anywhere in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So let's dive into the philosophy first, because I feel like small talk has a terrible brand.
Yeah.
It has bad PR.
It really does.
If you ask 10 people, I swear 9 of them will say, ugh, I hate small talk. I want real conversation. It's seen as the, I don't know, the styrofoam packing peanuts of human interaction.
That's-
Waste.
It's seen as filler, but this is where the source material does a really interesting wait a minute move. It argues that if you view small talk as just filler or as something shallow, you're fundamentally missing the biological point of the interaction.
Biological. That seems like a bit of a stretch for just chatting about the rain.
Not at all. Anthropologists and linguists actually have a term for this. It's called phatic communion.
Phatic. P-H-A-T-I-C. Phatic communion. Okay, break that down.
It refers to any language that's used not to convey information. I don't actually need you to tell me it's raining. I can see that, and I know you can see that. But to convey safety, it's a social signal.
So when I say crazy weather,
Hmm?
I'm not actually playing the role of a meteorologist.
Not at all.
I'm signaling I am not a threat.
Precisely. You are signaling, I am part of your tribe. I see the world the same way you do, at least in this moment. I am safe to be around. I am open to communication. The source really emphasizes that without this social glue, those deeper conversations that we all crave can't actually happen.
That makes sense.
You can't just walk up to a stranger and ask about their childhood trauma or their deepest political convictions. You need the styrofoam peanuts first to sort of cushion the landing for the real stuff.
I like that image. You need the cushion. It's the buffer.
And there's a physiological aspect to this too, which the source touches on. It mentions the importance of the smile. Take a breath, smile, even if it feels strange. When you smile, you are actually triggering mirror neurons in the other person's brain. It literally lowers their defense mechanisms. You are hacking the interaction before you even say a single word.
But the fear is still there. That fear of intrusion. I think that's why I personally sometimes hate small talk. I feel like I'm bothering the other person. You know, they have their headphones on, they're looking at their phone. Isn't silence sometimes just better?
And that's a completely valid fear. We live in a world that can feel very isolating. But the source material for day 28 argues that the fundamental urge to connect is actually stronger than the urge to isolate, provided, and this is the key, provided the topic is right.
Okay, so the topic is the key.
The topic is everything. And the foundational rules for the topics are that they must be safe and natural.
Safe and natural. So that means we are avoiding all the heavy stuff.
Absolutely. We are avoiding politics. We are avoiding religion. We are avoiding any controversial social issues. We are definitely avoiding asking about someone's salary or their marital status.
And the big no-nos.
Right. Initially, the goal is what the source calls a relaxed, friendly, cafe-style vibe. You want to be the person who makes the 5-minute wait for the train feel shorter, not the person who starts a 5-minute debate.
Okay, so if we're keeping it safe, where do we start? The source material is very, very clear on the absolute, undisputed heavyweight champion of all small talk topics.
The universal opener. The weather.
It is almost a cliche, right? Talking about the weather. Hot enough for you, looks like rain.
Yeah.
It feels so, I don't know, scripted.
It feels scripted because it works, and it works so well that it's become a script. The source argues there's a very good reason it's #1 on the list.
If it's just because it's easy, like anyone can see the sky.
It's more than easy. It's because it's the only topic that is absolutely 100% guaranteed to be shared by everyone in that specific physical space at that specific moment.
That's a good point.
Think about it. We might have different jobs, different backgrounds, different ages, completely different political views. But if it's raining on me on this platform in Chandigarh, it is also raining on you. It is the ultimate shared reality.
It creates an instant us versus the environment bond.
Exactly. Or, on a nice day, a shared enjoyment bond. And the source breaks this down into 3 distinct flavors of weather talk. which is actually quite helpful because not all weather talk achieves the same thing.
Rough it like that.
You have the positive, the negative, and the observational.
Okay, let's start with the positive. This seems like the easiest one. The source gives the classic phrase, lovely day, isn't it?
Lovely day, isn't it? Or beautiful day, isn't it? Now, let's look closely at that sentence structure. Lovely day, isn't it?
That little tail at the end, that's the important part.
It's what linguists call a tag question. In many languages, you might just make a simple statement, the day's nice. But in English small talk, that tag question is the invitation.
It's the difference between making a statement and, I don't know, like a conversational handshake.
That's a perfect analogy. If I just say, it's a lovely day, and then I stop, I'm just broadcasting an opinion into the void. You can just nod and walk away.
Right.
But if I add, isn't it, who, I am grammatically requiring you to participate. I'm handing you the microphone. And more specifically, I'm handing it to you in a way that makes it incredibly easy for you to agree. It prompts a yes, which starts building that agreement momentum we talked about earlier.
So the source notes that this works even if the day is just, okay. It doesn't have to be a spectacular cinematic spring morning.
Right. By just calling it lovely, you're framing the entire interaction positively from the get-go. You're presenting yourself as an optimist, and generally people like optimists.
And the reply to that is pretty standard. The source says something like, yes, finally some sunshine. It's an agreement.
Agreement is the fuel of small talk. You absolutely want to avoid disagreement in these early stages. If someone says, lovely day, isn't it? You really don't want to be the person who says, actually, the UV index is dangerously high today.
Right. Don't be that person.
You want to say, yes, it is. It keeps the conversational ball rolling.
Okay, so then we have the extreme or negative variance. This is for when things aren't so lovely. The source suggests phrases like, it's really hot today, right?
Yeah.
Or, what crazy weather we're having.
The crazy weather line is a classic, especially in places with unpredictable climates. It focuses on that unpredictability, rain one minute, sun the next. This invites the other person to share in the bemusement. It's a shared struggle.
And the reply can be something like, I know I'm melting.
I'm melting.
Yeah.
I love that imagery. It's evocative without being overly dramatic. It's incredibly relatable.
So you're creating a bond through suffering.
However minor that suffering may be, it's we are both enduring this heat together. That is a surprisingly powerful social connector. You become comrades in arms against the sun.
And then there's the third variant, which I think is a bit more sophisticated, the observation or the question. The source uses a very specific example here, tying back to Chandigarh. Is it always this foggy in Chandigarh?
This is a brilliant tactic, especially if you're a visitor or someone new to a city. It accomplishes two things simultaneously. First, it comments on the weather, the fog. But second, and more importantly, it implies, I am seeking local knowledge, and I see you as the expert.
So it plays to the ego a little bit, in a good way.
In a completely healthy way, yes. It empowers the other person. People love to demonstrate their local expertise. They love to be the one to say, oh yes, in the winter it is always like this, but you just wait until March, it's beautiful then.
It opens the door for them to teach you something, which makes them feel good.
Exactly. Another version of this is the predictive observation. Looks like it's going to rain later. And the source connects this to a follow-up that shows a level of care. Did you bring an umbrella?
That is such a nice, subtle shift. In one sentence, we went from the sky is gray to, I am concerned about your personal well-being.
That is the social glue in action. Did you bring an umbrella?
Yeah.
Is just a way of saying, I hope you don't get wet. It's a tiny act of kindness wrapped up in a simple weather observation. It signals that you're a considerate person.
So, okay, we've covered the weather. That's your opener.
Yeah.
But here's the trap I always fall into. You can't talk about the rain forever.
No, you can't.
Eventually, you run out of meteorological observations. You need to pivot. And the source suggests using what it calls temporal anchors, specifically the weekend.
The weekend is the holy grail of small talk.
Why?
Because it represents our personal time. It's where we are human beings, not just workers or commuters. But the source makes a very important distinction between what it calls the Monday dynamic and the Friday dynamic.
Right. Friday is all about anticipation. Monday is about reflection.
Precisely. On a Friday, everyone is looking forward. The energy is usually higher, more hopeful. The source suggests scripts like, any plans for the weekend? Or the slightly more energetic, got anything exciting planned for Saturday?
Okay, I get the concept, but I want to push back on the Friday dynamic a little. The source suggests asking, got anything exciting planned? To be honest, that terrifies me.
Why? It seems friendly enough on the surface.
Because it implies that I should have something exciting planned. If my big plan is to just lie on the couch and stare at the ceiling for 48 hours because I'm completely exhausted, that question makes me feel like a failure before I've even answered. Is that really a safe topic?
That is a very valid point. We do live in a culture that valorizes being busy and having amazing plans. But actually, if you look closely at the nuance here, you aren't really asking, prove to me that your life is interesting. You're offering them a stage.
A stage to brag.
Or a stage to be self-deprecating and relatable. If you ask any big plans and they say, no, thank God, I'm just going to sleep, you've actually given them a chance to bond with you over shared exhaustion. The safety comes from the fact that everyone has a weekend. You're not asking about their marriage or their salary. You're just asking about their free time.
So how do I answer if I really am doing nothing? The source lists a low-energy, relaxed reply. Nothing much, just relaxed at home. Is that really okay? It just feels so boring to say.
It is perfectly acceptable. In fact, it's often the most relatable answer you can give. It signals, I am prioritizing my rest. It gives the other person an opening to say, oh, I'm so jealous. I have to go to 3 family events.
Okay, so I don't need to lie and say I'm going skydiving or something.
Please, please do not lie. Small talk relies on a baseline of authenticity, even if it's shallow authenticity. If you say you're going skydiving, you're going to ask where, and then suddenly you're trapped in a web of lies.
Fair point. Okay, now, if you did do something, the source gives the high-energy reply. And the example is, I went trekking near Casali. It was amazing.
And notice the specificity there. Casali. This is such a crucial lesson in good small talk. Details are conversational hooks.
Hooks, okay.
If you just say, I went walking, the conversation surface is smooth. There's nothing for the other person to grab onto. But if you say, I went trekking near Casali, you've just given them 3 potential hooks. Trekking, the activity, Casali, the location, and amazing, the emotion.
So they can grab any of those. They could say, oh, I love Casali, or I've never been trekking. What's it like?
Exactly. You are feeding the conversation. You are giving them conversational handles to grab.
There's also the cultural consumption reply, which is probably more common for many of us. I binge-watched a new series. This is a very modern and very effective connector.
It's the new weather, in a way. What are you watching is almost as universal as, how is the weather? It almost always leads to the natural follow-up. Oh, which one? This is how you discover shared interests and tastes.
But, and this is the golden rule that the source mentions, and I really want to double-click on this, no matter which reply you give, whether you trekked up a mountain or you slept for 12 hours straight, you absolutely must do one thing at the end.
The reciprocation. You must ask back, you, or what about you?
It seems so simple. So obvious.
It is simple, but it is so often forgotten, especially when we're nervous. If you just answer, I watch TV, and then you stop talking, the conversation hits a brick wall. It's a dead end. It signals either disinterest or just plain narcissism.
It's what the source calls a dead cat response.
Yeah, you just threw a dead cat on the table. The you, or how about you, is the tennis racket hitting the ball back over the net. It keeps the rally going. It shows you're interested in them, not just in broadcasting your own weekend.
Okay, so we've got weather, we've got weekends. Let's move into the daily grind. Section 3 of our roadmap here covers contextual small talk, work, the commute, and food.
These are the staples of our daily existence. Contextual small talk is all about using the immediate environment or the shared situation to bridge that gap.
Let's start with the workplace. The source is careful to warn us here. You want to show interest without prying into someone's job performance or their salary.
Exactly. You want questions that acknowledge their professional life, but keep it light and general. How's work going is the absolute standard. But the source adds a really nice variation. How's the office these days?
How's that different?
It's slightly more detached. It asks about the general atmosphere of the place rather than their specific personal workload. It's a bit of a safer, broader question.
And then there's the classic empathy opener, busy week.
Busy week is fantastic. It's a gift of a question. It allows the other person to vent if they're stressed or to brag a little if they're achieving a lot. It validates the idea that work is hard. It basically says, I see you working, and I acknowledge it.
Any interesting projects right now is another one that's listed. That one feels a bit more formal to me, maybe something you'd ask a colleague you don't see very often.
I agree. That's a great networking question that's disguised as casual small talk. It gives them a chance to shine professionally, to talk about what they're passionate about at work.
Okay, now let's talk about the journey to the office, the commute, The source calls this one the shared struggle.
And nothing unites people like a bad commute. The traffic was terrible this morning, wasn't it? Is a bond that is forged in the fire of mutual frustration. It's a very safe complaint.
Why do we love complaining so much? Isn't small talk supposed to be positive?
It's supposed to be safe. And complaining about a neutral third party, like the traffic or the weather or the city's infrastructure, is incredibly safe because it creates an instant alliance. You're not complaining about the boss, which is risky.
Right.
You're not complaining about your spouse, which is too personal. You're complaining about the traffic. It's us against the world.
How long did it take you to get in today? Is another one.
That turns the commute into a bit of a contest or just a simple data comparison. It's an easy, low-stakes exchange of facts. 45 minutes for me. Oh, took me 50. It's simple, but it's a connection.
Moving on to something a little more pleasant. Food. The source suggests using specific locations as conversation starters. Have you tried the new cafe in Sector 17?
Note the specificity again, Sector 17. The source uses Chandigarh as its example, but this applies absolutely anywhere. If you're in London, it's have you tried that new place in Soho? If you're in New York, it's that new bagel shop in Brooklyn.
What does that specificity do for the conversation?
It moves the conversation from the generic to the local. It implies we are both members of this community. We share this geographic space. If you just ask, do you like coffee? It's a bit abstract. It's like a survey question.
You broad.
Yeah. But have you tried the new cafe is actionable. It suggests you're a person who goes places and does things and pays attention to their surroundings.
And the other example. I love the chai at this stall best in Chandigarh.
That's offering an opinion, but it's a very low-stakes one. It invites the other person to agree or even to disagree playfully. Oh, really? I actually prefer the one over in Sector 22. Now you're having a real conversation about preferences.
That's a good point.
This is how you move from stranger to acquaintance. You're building a little map of your shared tastes and experiences.
Finally, in this section, the source touches on current events. But again, and I feel like we have to keep repeating this, it emphasizes the safe lane.
The safe lane is crucial. We are talking sports and entertainment, things that are popular but not polarizing. Did you watch the cricket match yesterday? In many cultures, especially the one implied by the source material here, cricket is almost as universal as talking about the weather.
And entertainment. The new web series, everyone is talking about. Have you seen it?
These topics work because they are communal experiences, even if we experience them in our own homes. Even if the person says, no, I didn't see it, you have an easy follow-up. You can say, oh, you have to watch it. It's great. It's an easy, positive flow. It avoids the minefield of political news. You just do not want to bring up the latest election results while waiting for the elevator.
Okay, so let's go back to our person on the Chandigarh Metro platform. He's successfully navigated the weather. He's found out the stranger next to him is heading to Sector 17 for food. They've bonded over the terrible humidity. But now, the silence is starting to creep back in.
The conversation has peaked. This is the danger zone.
Right. The train still hasn't arrived. You've run out of weather observations. If you stay silent now, it gets weird and awkward again. But if you keep talking, you might start to look desperate or clingy.
This is the moment where most learners panic. They feel held hostage by the very conversation they just started. They think, I started this, now I have to entertain this person for the next 20 minutes.
So how do we escape? How do we stick the landing without looking rude or abrupt?
The source calls this the art of the exit, and it says it relies on a single, almost magical transition word.
And that magic word is anyway.
Anyway. It is such a powerful linguistic tool. It's what's known as a discourse marker.
A discourse marker.
Yes. It signals a shift in the frame of the conversation. When you say anyway, often with a slight change in your tone or maybe taking a small breath, you are telling the listener, the previous segment of this interaction is now finished. I am now transitioning to the closing segment.
It doesn't sound rude, just anyway.
Not if it's done with the right tone. It's functional. It's actually a relief for the other person, too. It relieves them of the burden of having to think of the next thing to say.
So the full phrase is something like, anyway, nice talking to you.
Simple, polite, and effective. You pivot with anyway. You offer compliment, nice talking to you. And then, and this part is key, you physically disengage slightly. You might check your phone, you turn your body a little bit away, you signal the end non-verbally as well.
Other options that are listed are, good to see you, have a great day. Or the more casual, see you around.
See you around is great for colleagues or casual acquaintances. It implies a future connection, so it doesn't feel like a permanent, final goodbye. It keeps the social door open.
And enjoy the rest of your day.
These phrases are so crucial because they signal respect for the other person's time. You are basically saying, I enjoyed this brief connection, but I know you are a busy person and I am a busy person, so let's get back to our respective lives. It closes the interaction on a positive note. It leaves a good aftertaste.
So, we have the theory, we have all the components. Now, the source material does something really helpful at this point. It puts it all together into a role-play breakdown. It actually scripts out how these interactions might sound in the wild.
Let's look at scenario 1, waiting for the metro. This really brings it all together.
Okay, so the setup is, you and a stranger, the train is late. The outline mentioned Monday earlier, but looking at the actual dialogue in the source, they talk about weekend plans. So let's assume it's a Friday.
Context is everything. So it's a Friday delay. There's high frustration about the train, but also high anticipation for the weekend.
The flow starts with the opener, which is a commute complaint. The metro is always late on Fridays, isn't it?
And there's that tag question again, isn't it?
Hmm.
It's an open door, inviting agreement.
The stranger then confirms the wait time. That's the validation part. Then comes the pivot. You shift from the negative topic, the delayed train, to a positive, future-oriented one. Any plans for the weekend?
This is a masterful pivot. You are consciously steering the emotional ship away from the rocks of this train sucks and out toward the open waters of the weekend is coming.
The exchange then follows. The stranger says something like, just relaxing at home. You. And you reply, I'm going to meet some friends in Sector 22.
And the takeaway here is that transformation. You started with a shared frustration, the late train, and you ended up discussing social plans in Sector 22. You completely shifted the emotional tone of that waiting period from annoyed to pleasant and social. That is the real power of small talk. You reclaimed that dead time.
Okay, scenario 2 is the office pantry, a conversation with a colleague.
The setup is simple. You're both there to grab a coffee or a glass of water. This is a very high-frequency zone for small talk. It's the classic water cooler moment.
The opener here is a review question. How was your weekend?
Classic Monday morning script. You almost have to ask this in an office environment. It's a social ritual.
The reply given in the source includes a specific detail. It was great. Took a long drive to Pinjore Gardens. Very peaceful.
Pinjore Gardens. There it is again. Specificity. It paints a picture. It allows your colleague to visualize where you were. It makes you a more three-dimensional person, not just the guy from accounting who sends all those spreadsheets.
Then there's the contrast. The colleague says they just stayed in and watched movies, and then, importantly, the exit. Anyway, I should probably get back to my desk.
It's short, it's pleasant, and it reinforces the working relationship. You connected, you shared a tiny piece of your non-work life, Pinjore Gardens, but you didn't take up 20 minutes of their morning. You respected the office part of the office pantry.
It sounds so manageable when you break it down like that. It's just this little formula. Opener, validation, pivot, exit.
It is a formula, and like any formula, once you memorize the variables, you can solve the equation pretty easily in most situations.
Speaking of memorizing, we're reaching the end of our deep dive, which means it's time for the golden cheat sheet. The source recaps the absolute must-save phrases for quick recall. Let's run through them rapidly for everyone listening.
Okay, get your mental highlighters out. These are your weapons of mass connection. For weather, lovely day, isn't it? That's your agreement builder. And crazy weather, that's your bond builder.
Got it. For weekend, any plans? That's for Friday and anticipation.
Yeah.
And did you do anything nice for Monday and reflection?
For work commute, busy week, for empathy, and the traffic was terrible, your shared enemy.
And for ending the conversation. Anyway, nice talking to you.
Yeah.
Using that magic word. Anyway.
Short, punchy, and incredibly effective.
But the source material for day 28 doesn't just want you to listen to us talk about it. It wants you to actually do the work. There are homework assignments listed.
And these are really practical, actionable assignments. First, writing. It says to write 3 short conversations, about 6 to 8 lines each, and to mix the topics. So, combine weather and work. Combine the commute and the weekend.
Why writing, though? Isn't this supposed to be about speaking?
Writing slows down the thinking process. It allows you to actually see the structure, the opener, pivot, exit on the page. It helps to cement that architecture in your brain so that when you're in a speaking situation, the blueprint is already there.
That makes sense. Okay, the second one is simulation. This one might feel a little silly at first, but it really works. It says to record yourself for 90 to 120 seconds. Pretend you're in a lift or a cafe.
And try to keep the chat going for 30 to 45 seconds solo. You can play both parts if you have to, or just practice your side of the dialogue. Hearing your own voice saying these phrases is crucial for building confidence. It desensitizes you to the sound of your own English. A lot of the anxiety just comes from not being used to hearing yourself speak the new language.
And the third assignment is the most important one. Real-world application. Try one phrase today. Just one.
With a shopkeeper, a neighbor, a family member, it doesn't have to be a stranger on the metro. Just try saying, "Lovely day, isn't it?" to the person who's standing your groceries. See what happens. Watch the little smile you'll probably get in return.
And finally, community engagement. The source asks learners to share an opener and a reply in the comments section. It's about building that collective momentum, I guess.
It's also a powerful reminder that you're not doing this alone. There are thousands of other Day 28 learners out there, all facing the exact same awkward silences.
Looking ahead, the source mentions that tomorrow is day 29. What's happening then?
That's the Mid-Journey Review and Mega Quiz. It's a celebration of all the progress made from day 1 all the way to day 28. That's going to be a big moment of consolidation for the learner.
But for today, the focus really remains on that simple human connection.
That's really what it all comes down to at the end of the day.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the art of small talk,
Yeah.
what is the big single takeaway for you from all of this?
For me, it's the reframing. We so often think of language learning as just vocabulary lists and grammar rules, but small talk is where language becomes behavior. It's the point where English stops being a subject you study in a book and becomes a tool you use to connect with another human being. It turns a room full of strangers into a room full of potential acquaintances.
I love that. It's really just about showing you're open, you're polite, and you're human.
And remember, the other person is likely just as relieved that you broke the silence as you are. In a way, you're doing them a favor. You can be the hero of the awkward silence.
So here's our final thought for you to mull over as we finish up. We talked all about safe topics today, but think about this. Every deep, meaningful relationship you have in your life, your best friend, your partner, your closest colleague, it almost certainly started with a piece of small talk.
That's a powerful point.
It probably started with a crazy weather we're having or a how was your weekend. Small talk isn't the opposite of big talk. It's the doorway to big talk. You just have to be brave enough to turn the handle.
The biggest conversations really do start with the smallest words.
So keep starting those tiny chats. Keep smiling when you speak. Your world and your English is getting warmer and more connected every time you do. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive.
We'll see you next time.